How are the fingers positioned relative to the wrist? Medial, proximal, distal, or superior? Distal. The fingers are farther from the point where the arm attaches to the trunk. Which term describes the thumb's position relative to the other digits of the hand? Lateral, medial, distal, or proximal? Lateral. The thumb is farther from the body's midline when the palm is facing forward. How is the hand positioned relative to the wrist? Distal, deep, proximal, or posterior? Distal. The hand is farther from the point where the arm attaches to the trunk. How is the wrist positioned relative to the elbow? Medial, distal, superior, or proximal? Distal. The wrist is farther from the trunk than the elbow is. How is the elbow positioned relative to the shoulder? Proximal, distal, superficial, or anterior? Distal. The elbow lies between the shoulder and the wrist and is farther from the trunk than the shoulder. How is the shoulder positioned relative to the elbow? Deep, posterior, proximal, or distal? Proximal. The shoulder is closer to the trunk than the elbow is. How is the wrist positioned relative to the fingers? Distal, inferior, proximal, or lateral? Proximal. The wrist is closer to the point where the arm attaches to the trunk. How is the forearm positioned relative to the arm? Distal, superficial, proximal, or anterior? Distal. The forearm is located below the upper arm and farther from the trunk. How is the arm positioned relative to the forearm? Posterior, proximal, deep, or distal? Proximal. The upper arm is closer to the point where the arm attaches to the trunk. How is the elbow positioned relative to the wrist? Distal, lateral, proximal, or inferior? Proximal. The elbow is closer to the point where the arm attaches to the trunk. On which aspect of the hand is the palm located? Medial, lateral, posterior, or anterior? Anterior. This is also called the palmar surface, and it faces forward in the anatomical position. On which aspect of the hand are the knuckles located? Lateral, anterior, posterior, or medial? Posterior. This is also called the dorsal surface, which is the back of the hand. On which aspect of the arm is the biceps muscle located? Posterior, medial, anterior, or lateral? Anterior. This muscle is located on the front of the upper arm. On which aspect of the arm is the triceps muscle located? Lateral, posterior, anterior, or medial? Posterior. This muscle is located on the back of the upper arm. The olecranon is in what side of the arm? Medial, anterior, lateral, or posterior? Posterior. The olecranon forms the bony point of the elbow on the posterior side of the arm. How is the wrist positioned relative to the hand? Proximal, distal, superficial, or anterior? Proximal. The wrist is closer to the point where the arm attaches to the trunk. Which term describes the position of the little finger relative to the other digits of the hand? Distal, proximal, lateral, or medial? Medial. The little finger is closer to the body's midline when the palm is facing forward. How is the shoulder positioned relative to the wrist? Distal, proximal, deep, or posterior? Proximal. The shoulder is closer to the trunk than the wrist is. How is the hand positioned relative to the elbow? Deep, distal, posterior, or proximal? Distal. The hand is farther from the trunk than the elbow is. How is the forearm positioned relative to the wrist? Proximal, superficial, distal, or anterior? Proximal. The forearm is closer to the trunk than the wrist is. How is the arm positioned relative to the shoulder? medial, distal, proximal, or superior. Distal. The arm extends outward from the shoulder and is farther from the trunk.